phenomenal, legendary, and blessed morning, noon, night, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Mustard Seed Movement Live Wednesdays. Welcome back, y'all. I am so sorry that I was not on last week. Did you miss me? So I wasn't on last week because I wasn't ready to deliver my message. And one thing that I'm not going to do is bring you crap. I'm not going to bring you anything that I didn't spend some time on or seek God for, what He wants me to say. And so instead of forcing myself to put something out, I was like, no, we're just going to actually push this back. And I actually thought that I was going to come on at a different date, and it just didn't work out that way. So, phenomenal, legendary, and blessed morning. So if you can tell by the title, we're talking about proximity. And in this particular live, we're talking about proximity to people. There's going to be another live, unless I do a video, it depends. That's going to talk about the proximity to the Lord. And so what prompted this is that I know some people that are going through a process right now, and I get to be in proximity to the journey, and it's something that I actually can learn from. And so I felt like this was actually a good topic because I don't think we realize how beautiful and yet damaging, or I should say how beautiful and can also be damaging depending on who or what you're in proximity to. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. So starting with proximity to people, but from a good standpoint, is that if you think about your journey, and I want you to really think about this, think about your journey, what you've been through, the trials, the tribulations, but also all the good. And think about the people that were in proximity to you, whether you were able to learn from somebody else that was in proximity to you, or you were in proximity to them and it helped you in some kind of way, or if they were in proximity to you and you helped them in some kind of way. And when I first started writing down stuff in regards to this, because like I said, I was already thinking about this, I just wasn't prepared to deliver the message last week. But when I think about proximity to people, I think about you're in proximity to their emotions, their thoughts, their opinions, their sorrows, their blessings. And this can be good or bad depending on the individual or individuals. And so I think about like your circle. I know you've probably heard this term before. Hang around nine broke people and guess who'll be number 10. And number 10 is basically pointing at you. And so I remember being in a network marketing company, and they talked about that a lot. And the idea was for you to surround yourself around like-minded people, as well as surround yourself around people who have what you desire. And I think that it's a good concept, except sometimes it can either go against God's will for you, God's plans for you, and things can get a little misconstrued. But we'll talk about God's plans and stuff like that in another live and talk about proximity to God. Now, I'm thinking about when I think about good or bad in terms of like proximity to people, something that I went looking deeper in, and I got a couple of scriptures that pretty much feeds into this. So 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, "Do not be fooled or deceived, by bad company. Don't be fooled. Do not be deceived or fooled. Bad company ruins good morals. And when I hear that scripture, I'm thinking about somebody that maybe is choosing to walk with Christ, and yet their circle that they hang around is still in the world. You are going to struggle to be able to stay committed to Christ unless you actually have a circle that is committed to Christ, because otherwise you will find yourself slipping more so into the world, because that's who you're most surrounded around. If you once used to party hard and you're coming out of that, and now you're in this imbalance of you're walking and looking to do things for the Lord, and your primary circle, parties and hang out, you are going to do more of that because that's what you're in proximity to, unless your faith and your conviction is stronger, and then you have the opportunity to say no. Morning, B. You get to the opportunity to say no, I actually can't do that. I won't be able to attend that event or this, that, and the third, and you'll make different choices. And then walks with the wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. And so that basically says that you walk with the wise, you'll be wise, and you walk with a companion of fools, you'll suffer. And so we don't really think about this too often. We don't think about what we're in proximity to. Now, somebody might look at this and be like, "Oh, well, those are definitely bad things," and it can be. It all depends on where your faith lies, where your conviction lie, because you can choose differently, right? But sometimes what happens is we're so wanting and missing our old life that we get pulled in two directions. It's like, I want to do what's great with the Lord, and I want to do this with my worldly friends. And sometimes it won't always it won't always be a fun decision to make. But at the end of the day, you have to make a decision that best suits you being honorable to the Lord, especially if that's the way that you're choosing to walk, if that's the way that you feel that you are being called to walk. Now, I also thought about the idea of, like, I know some married couples do not allow themselves to hang around single people. And this is kind of twofold, right? Because I'm a single person, I hang around some married people, and the pull is stronger for me to desire marriage versus being a single that's wanting to stay single and be in the world, right? But here's my thought about it. If you're surrounded around married couples that know how to do marriage, even if it's not perfect, but you see where they know how to talk to each other, they're compromising, they do still go out and date, they do have fun with each other, you get to see the beauty of what the covenant of marriage looks like, especially if it's covenant under God. But then you have marriages that are sour, the couples look like they don't even get along, so that doesn't look appealing to somebody that's single and possibly living their best life, right? Their best life. Now, this is not knocking singles, because I'm a single and I enjoy my singleness. Do I have moments where I desire marriage? Absolutely. But I enjoy my singleness because now, as I've grown to understand what this singleness process looks like, especially when you're operating with God and in partnership with God, your singleness season is where God can prune you and heal you and deal with your past and traumas and things like that. And you get to grow internally, and you get to operate in your purpose and solidify that before you even get yoked to your purpose partner. And so I'm not knocking singleness, because I think singleness is a great thing. And there's some people that are designed to be single for a lifetime, and there's some people that are going to be single for a time, and marriage is still part of God's plan for you, but it's just not at the same time as everybody else. And I think that that's my journey currently. Now, I was also, as I was in my study time, actually this morning, it was brought to my remembrance when several months ago I was doing jury duty, and I can't speak about any of the cases. However, what it did teach me is that when you choose to be in the proximity of somebody that commits a crime, unfortunately, due to you being in proximity to them, you too can be charged with a crime. And it's crazy because people do not realize that. They're thinking like, oh, I'm just hanging with this person. I didn't even know, they were going to do X, Y, and Z. And now you have to be like, you're considered complicit in that act, when you're like, I had nothing to do with it. That wasn't me. That was them. But you were correct, B. You become guilty by association. So we don't realize how important our proximity to other people and things are. It really can do one or two things. It can actually put you in a great place, or it can put you in a really bad place that you didn't even expect to see. Now, if your life is full of crime and XYZ, but again, proximity, right? Maybe your family, was full of crime or lies and deceit, and that's what you learned. You were in proximity to that. Now to come out of that and be among people that are of good nature and good character, it might seem weird for you, because you're like, this is how I've lived my life for X amount of years. To do this, like, it's different. And you also probably would struggle with the fact of like, dag, is this the right way that I should go? Because what you learned was so long and so far that you didn't even think that there was another way to be or to live. And so back to what I was talking about proximity, like when you're in proximity to people, you're in proximity to their emotions, their thoughts, their opinions, their mindsets, their sorrows, their blessings. And when you think about blessings, think about somebody that maybe they started to build a business. You're in proximity to them and they're having great success. You're able to glean from them that success that they experience. Now, it might look different, but if you're in proximity to them, you can learn from them. Just like in that network marketing company, the idea was to be around the leaders, be around the people that have what you want. Because being around the people that have what you want, you can learn from them. They'll teach you if you ask the right questions, if you actually allow yourself to let go of any fears of their leadership and just actually approach them and say, hey, you have this going on in your life, and I've seen how you want to be an entrepreneur. Clearly, maybe that's why you're in the network marketing company or otherwise. And you have questions like, well, how did you get started? Or, how did you, cold call, and all these other different things. There's so many different things that you can learn from people on a job. Let's say for a woman, she starts off at a receptionist, but she sees herself as like a salesperson. She's going to want to keep herself in proximity to the salespeople. And she's going to want to learn from them. And maybe if somebody is kind enough to be like, you know what, I'll take you up under my wing. I'll show you a few things. You know what? After we're done with the work hour, we have a business meeting to go to. Let's invite you so you can sit in on that business meeting and see how we do things. It's all in proximity to people. Now, remember I said earlier, and Brian said it in the comments, guilty by association. somebody that lives a life of crime or a life of drugs and addiction and things like that, when you're in close proximity to people, if your faith, if your stance, if your morals are not stronger and on a higher level, you can fall prey to being exactly where these people are. And I'm not knocking these people. Everybody has their journeys. But what I'm saying is that it matters who's in your circle. It matters who's speaking to your life. One of the things that I've heard recently, and it was a little disturbing for me because there's a lot of people I think that walk around with this mentality, is that married people shouldn't have single friends because their single friends would be basically tempting them to be outside and live a single life. But that's not always true. I am the single friend. And however, the marriages that I'm surrounded around, I have told friends, family, especially if I believe in their marriage and I believe that their marriage was under the covenant of God, I am telling them, listen, I know that hard times will come. I've seen it. I literally desire marriage so much that I look at all things, like understand that trials and tribulations will happen, but there's also really great times and really beautiful moments. And the hope is that you'll have more of those than you have of the trials and tribulations, but life's. And at the same time, I tell my married people, if you ever consider divorce, don't look to me, because I'm going to be the person that's going to fight for your marriage, even as a single. And the reason why that is because I believe in the covenant of marriage. I believe in God's ordained covenant of marriage. And I believe that marriage works. I believe that marriage is a beautiful thing, especially if you're called to it. And I believe that outside of abuse, that marriage is so important because it gives people the ability to see God's love expressed in marriage. So I'm always going to be an advocate for marriage. I'm not going to be an advocate, and I'm not going to be an advocate for divorce. Like I said, unless there is something life-threatening, abuse is involved, and it is something that is not seemingly able to be healed or cured with marriage, with counseling and prayer, because I believe in both. And so when I think about that, there are some people that believe that singles should not be in proximity to married people. And I feel like it's twofold, because you will have your select singles that want to be in proximity to married couples because they want to understand what marriage looks like. And there are singles that do not want to be in proximity to married couples. Why? Because maybe they've experienced their own parents, grandparents, or even in their own life that for them it seemed like marriage didn't work. Where it might just be that maybe God didn't put these two people together. Because when you put people together that aren't meant to be together, you are definitely going to have not just trials and tribulations, but complete trauma and drama and all the things. And it will cause relationships to break. And unfortunately, children brought up in a marriage like that experience that and then grow up to think that marriage is not a good thing. But God created marriage. And what God creates is a good thing. He said it in his word. And so I just thought about that, and I was like, wow, there's some people that really are putting out this messaging about singles being in proximity to marriage. And what I'm saying is inspect the fruit. Inspect the fruit of the single people that are around your marriage. If the people around your marriage, the single people around your marriage is like, that couldn't be me. Or that's what you do for him, or that's what you do for her. You what they call it? Something they call it. I can't remember now. But basically, you weak. Oh, you a sucker. And it's like, no, because in marriage you serve each other. It's not one serves the other. It's you serve each other. So, I think that just like single people should inspect their friends and who they're around, married people should do the same thing and not be so quick to exile singles, but inspect the fruit of those singles and like who they are as individuals. how do they serve your marriage, if at all? And how do you serve them in how your marriage is represented to them? So that was just a piece that I felt I wanted to touch on, because, you know, singles get flack, and not all singles is out here trying to be wild and outside and causing rifts and problems in people's marriage. There are some people that are actually looking to those that are married and seeing the beauty of marriage even with its trials and tribulations. So that's that. Then I talked about proximity to people, their emotions, their thoughts. And there's some people that do not have a grasp on their emotions. When things happen in their life, they blow off at the top of the roof. They go off the handle, like everything is off the rails. And you want to be careful to be around people like that. And I believe I wrote the scripture down to right. Proverbs 22, 24 through 25 says, "Make no friendship with a man given to anger, nor go with a wrathful man, lest you learn his ways and entangle yourself in a snare." We really have to be careful with people that have what I would say anger issues or poor impulse control, things that, you know, literally by them flying off the handle, it literally could mean your life. So I'm gonna talk about a story. I might have mentioned this already before. Recently, my emotions got the best of me. Somebody was trying to cut in front of me, coming out of a park. And in that moment, I felt like because to me, it was a tight squeeze between where I was and the car ahead of me. And this person just really wanted to just get in front of me out of their park, where I felt like they could have waited. Anyway, it really did enrage me. And I thought that the reason why I was so enraged was that I felt like I wasn't being seen. Like, they didn't gesture like, "Hey, do you mind if I get in front of you?" I don't mind that. But their windows would they were dark tint. Even if they were gesturing anything, I couldn't see them. But they just kept inching. Anyway, long story longer, I ended up like slamming my hand on the horn and honking the life of them. And I called them an a-hole. I have my moments. Everybody does. And my best friend was in the car with me, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen you allow someone to get you out of character like that." And I apologized to her, and I definitely repented to the Lord later, because that typically isn't like me. I actually have been. So when I first started driving, I had passenger side seat road rage, and I also had my own road rage when I started driving. But my road rage was never to the point where I felt like I needed to get out of my car and curse somebody or roll down my window and flip somebody the bird, right? However, even with my windows up or whatever, like, I would talk to them, but in my car, not for them to hear me. Doesn't make it right. But either way, I repented. But nonetheless, I had to look back at that, because I was like, whoa, like, that was like, when I tell you I was upset, I was really upset, and I had to figure out what that was. And like I said, my trigger was that I felt like they just thought that they were more priority than me, and I didn't understand that. But nonetheless, talking about this proverb and making a friendship with a man given to anger, you have to be careful with that, because there are people, and literally the week later, I seen somebody get so enraged. There was a man that was walking his dog, and I guess how he was in the road with his dog, the man that was driving ahead of me, he felt like he couldn't completely make his turn because the guy and his dog was in the way. But he stopped traffic. Mind you, there's a green light. He has to go. So now there's traffic, myself and people behind me. He gets out the car, and he's ready to like either pick something up off the floor and cuss this guy out. But he comes out of the car, and the other guy who had the dog also cussed at him too. But this guy got out of the car, and in my mind, in today's time, we just never know what people are going to do. I think we walk around with this mindset that, oh, this can't happen to me. But things can happen to anybody at any time, and nothing can stop it. I do not want to be on the other side of that. So actually seeing that guy do that made me reflect back to the time with my best friend, which was only a week ago. And I was like, wow, that, even though I didn't get out of my car, essentially that was me. This guy was ready to come out, cuss him. Mind you, this man was suited and all. This guy was just in regular clothes, walking his dog, but anything could have happened. We don't know what anybody is carrying. We don't know what anybody has. These are just not things that we want to get ourselves involved in. And so dealing with people that have poor impulse control, anger that they don't have under control, and will blow their top off at the drop of a hat, it's dangerous. And we have to be careful. So, being in proximity to people that have this type of character, you can really allow for yourself to be in danger. You can allow for yourself and your children to be in danger, because even around your children, these people could not care, because what they care about is their ego in the moment. What they care about is being right in the moment. And it just doesn't serve well at the end of the day what it could mean in terms of trouble or harm that could come your way. So that's another part. Yeah. I'm looking over my notes really quickly so one of the things that I wrote down is that proximity can either teach you lessons or put you in a space of learning, experiencing consequences. And I think it goes back to like the guilty of by association with the consequences. The lessons can be to different things. You can learn lessons the hard way, and you can learn lessons that actually you can hold on to and take with you and use in other areas, whether it's relationships, whether it's building a business. The hope is that who and what you're in proximity to, hopefully it is for the good, and it allows for you to be able to have great success at a different level. It allows you to grow maybe emotionally, internally. Hopefully it'll help you grow through some traumas that you had, heal in that moment or in those times, and just learning how to be a better person in this world. Let me just double check, because there's some things that really would be more about proximity to God than proximity to people. Oh, sorrows. So we do have to be careful with sorrows as well, because we can take on the sorrows of other people. It is, sorry, I've got alarms and stuff going on. Sorrows and mindsets. We have to be careful. I think speaking more so to growing up, our parents at times have different mindsets of how things should go. And I think that sometimes we take on some of those things, and some of those things are good to hold on to and take over and allow it to go generationally. And then there's some that you might have to consider, maybe that doesn't work anymore, or that didn't work even for my parents. They thought it did, but it didn't. And so we have to be careful of our mindsets, and the mindsets of others who we're in proximity to. It goes even back to the anger thing. Some people feel like their anger is justified, and it's like, no, you might need to rethink some things, or consider the perspective that you're considering for why you're angry and why you feel like you should hold on to anger. And as far as sorrows, when we lose people, we can hold on to our sorrows a little longer than necessary. This is separate from like truly grieving over the death of someone, especially when it's parents, grandparents, children of your own. Obviously, you're not expecting to lose your children before you're gone, right? So there are some things that take more time to grieve. But let's talk more so about relationships, friendships that we thought were good for us, and now those relationships have died, or we have to be careful for the things that we're holding on to or wishing that would have remained, because we don't know what that means for our future, or what it would have meant for our future had we kept certain friendships or relationships that did not serve us in a good way. It can be hurtful when you lose close relationships, and we have to evaluate how good was the relationship in itself. Did it serve you to the capacity where you can be a better person and be better to other people? So I didn't mean to stay on this long, but I pray that this helps you. Listen, hit me up in the comments. When you think about proximity to people, tell me either your experience or another tip that you felt like I didn't cover. And hit me down in the comments. Let me know what you were thinking. Let me know, what stuck out to you. Let me know what really resonated with you in this video. And I shall see you in the next live or the next video. And I appreciate you tuning in, even if it's on the replay. See you next time.